Alright, what's up guys? Today we're doing a new video. We have the XYZ festival also in the same month as the other festival, and of course there's 5 new decks I'm going to show you. Well, 5 decks that are the best decks for this event. First things first, we've got Numeron. I think Numeron is really strong. Yes, they hit the field spell to 2. Terraforming is not here, but that is just not the end of the world. You never resolve 3 field spells anyway. It's just a matter of searching them. You do have the search power to do it. You have Numeron Wall, Maxie's fully legal, Ash Blossom. You have Planetary Pathfinder, Planet Pathfinder. You just summon it, tribute, add a field spell to your hand. Already pretty good. We got the Kaijus, the Galdara, all the board breaking cards that we need. Numeron Calling. This card basically searches a monster with 0 attack at the start of main phase 1. So you just activate the start of main phase 1 and you can search out the Numeron Wall if you want to, which is obviously really good because if you control no cards, you can send it to from your hand to the graveyard and then add a Numeron network directly. So pretty cool. You just activate this, get into this right at the beginning of the duel, and you don't have to worry about having a difficult time getting to the Numeron network. Then you have 2 Numeron networks you got to max out. We play Twin Twisters. Always put chaining on so that you can in the standby phase activate Twin Twisters before they can do anything about the Para-Reeves map, because this has to be the first card that you activate. So standby phase, activate Twin Twisters, pop something, and then main phase 1, first card you activate is Para-Reeves map. I got Call by the Grave, Forbidden Droplets, Metaverse, Infinite, basically a bunch of board breaking, negating, hand trap, stuff like that. I personally am going to use this deck in the event just because it requires the least amount of like effort, which is really good. Sometimes you don't want to sit there and like think and use your full brain, so you just use this. I'd rather focus on the other festival, and for this festival I'm going to take a little mental break. The good thing about this is if you do the coin flip and you go second you activate Numeron network, most of the time honestly your opponent will just like scoop. So it's just a quick way to get a lot of the gems, but this is deck number 1, probably the easiest one out of all of them to play by far. Alright, here we've got deck number 2. It is pure Zoodiacs. This is like a going second pure Zoodiac deck. The objective of the deck is to make a Zeus with like 8 million materials, and that's basically what the deck does. Yeah, you play a good amount of Zoodiac names, not like a million Zoodiac names, but a good amount of Zoodiac names. Just because the good thing about the Zoodiacs is you only need one Zoodiac, and then once you summon that one, like once you have successfully summoned that one Zoodiac, you are essentially good to go. There's a few cool cards that you can play, like for example Dimensional Slice, which if it's set and you summon an XYZ monster, you can activate this card the turn it's set and banish a card your opponent controls to face a monster your opponent controls. Also, you've got the XYZ Import, which lets you target an XYZ monster you control and one monster your opponent controls, and then attach it as material. So you just attach it to the Zoodiac monster you want, which is pretty cool. And then of course we've got a pretty reasonable package of random XYZ monsters. Most of the time you're just using the regular Zoodiac cards, but another decent card in here that you could possibly play. So you've got XYZ combo to shuffle, I'm sorry, the Zoodiac combo to shuffle them all back, and then draw a card so that you can put basically all the XYZ monsters back and then just do it again with these. But you can also use the Pot of Avarice. I've got it right here. You can use Pot of Avarice just to put these back and then go into another Zoodiac monster. So Pot of Avarice is really not bad, because Pot of Avarice lets you recycle Zeus if you wanted to, because usually there's no way to recycle Zeus and he's only limited to 1. But generally this deck is pretty good. You go second, you make like a 6 material Zeus. It's definitely a very strong deck. Alright, the next deck is Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights is still a very strong deck, especially in this event with everything else shut down. Yes, you don't have access to Link Monster, and yes, you don't have access to Cherubini, you don't have access to stuff like that, but this deck has a very good XYZ package, or XE package. So it can make rank 3s very quickly. It can also get to Zeus very quickly. This event is a little bit odd, where it sort of becomes like whoever can get the Zeus first kind of wins. Zeus is definitely going to be like the MVP of the entire event, so to say. But this deck has a really easy way to get to Zeus, and it has a really good, like, in general, it just has a very good like toolbox of things that you can do in terms of Exceed monsters. The rank 3s in this deck are just really strong. You have Dante, you have Breaksword that can basically out anything. You have Levier, which can get back any of the banished any of the Phantom Knights that you banished out of your graveyard, you can actually get them with Levier and then use them again and again. You can easily go into the Utopic Future, which you can't do in some of the other XC decks. But this deck is very, very, very strong for this event. Possibly one of the better, like possibly the best deck for the event. But obviously that's still up in the air and very debatable. But definitely this is a very good deck. I wouldn't say that it's budget, just because if you don't own a lot of this stuff, it's going to cost you quite a bit to get some of this stuff. There are definitely other decks that are far better in terms of budget. Definitely Numerons is probably the best in terms of a budget deck. All right, next up is another crossover deck. So this deck actually is available in both of the festivals. You can play this deck in the Exceed Festival, and you can play it in the Legends Festival. What is it called? The Legends Anthology. You can play it in both festivals. If you look at my Legends Anthology video, you can play Paleozoic Frogs. In this, you can play Paleozoic Frogs. And in this one, it's actually even better because you have access to the sprites, the gigantic sprite. And if you wanted to, you can actually play all of the sprites if you really wanted to. The only thing that's not legal is Sprite Elf, but you can play all of the other sprites as far as I know, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you're playing basically a bunch of level 2s. It's a big rank 2 deck. You could, like I said, honestly, the deck is really good with a lot of trap cards, but it's honestly very playable with the Sprite engine. This is the only one of the only floodgates that are actually legal. It's like skill drain, but only for the first turn that monsters are summoned. It's very good against Zoodiacs, obviously very good against Numerons. It's good against a lot of decks because you flip this against Numeron, all of their monsters get changed to defense. At the end, they get banished anyway, so they literally cannot win against this card. This card is really strong. Yeah, it negates their effects and just become worthless. The Angel Statue Azure, if you wanted to play that, you can. But the extra deck, again, this is basically like Paleozoic Frogs from years and years ago. Like, we're talking like when they first released. It's actually quite a fine deck. And like I said, you have the gigantic sprite, which is really strong in the deck because if you summon this, you basically get the combo off immediately into the Swap Frog, put Ronatona in the graveyard, and just start going off just like that. Huge buff for the deck in this festival. I think it was one of the only like control decks available, just because things like Eldritch are gone, Phantasmal Spirals are gone. Like all of the decks that were available in the last XYZ festival are completely and totally gone this time around. So this deck definitely is probably one of the strongest control decks available in the entire thing. All right, next up we've got Exosisters. This is another deck that is just like obnoxiously expensive, but I can't deny that it's really good. So obviously it's a deck that basically anytime a card moves out of the graveyard, you can do a lot of cool things. You can summon on your opponent's turn. You can exceed somewhere, kind of like what's it called, like rank up during your opponent's turn, and then you get additional effects on the new monsters that you have, which are really good. It's a huge like XC deck. It's a very powerful deck. It's not even important to like get to Zeus. Michaelis is really good. Quick effect, target a monster your opponent controls, banish it, and then you can basically swap into all of these during your opponent's turn, which is really awesome. And yeah, they all have quick effects. If they have Exosisters as material, which they always will have Exosisters as material, but they all have really strong quick effects. This is the newest one, Magnifica. Well, actually technically Martha is the newest one, but this is also new. Again, pretty good. It can banish. You can banish so many cards in your opponent's turn. Like you can banish 4 of your opponent's cards per turn. The trap card is really good. That banishes. All of the other cards banish. Both of the trap cards are actually quite strong. In addition to the spell here, special summon X, yeah, you can, it's like a rank up spell, which is really good. But yeah, the deck is actually quite strong. I'd say, I mean, it's the main issue with the deck is, again, it's just a price. Like in terms of a deck, very good. Probably will see a lot of representation so long as you have the dust to make it. This is personally, again, it's not a deck I'm going to be playing just because, I mean, you've got 3 Marthas, which are URs. You've got 3 of the packs, which is 6 URs, 9 URs, and then you've got these 2 here, so 9, 12, yeah, almost like 12 URs, which is outrageous if you don't already own the deck. It's kind of outrageous. The SRs, of course, are negligible, but in terms of the URs that you need to play is an outrageous amount, unfortunately, and you do actually have to play a lot of these because you'll be tagging out into them throughout the game. The other kind of drawback is that you don't have Gozen Match. Gozen Match is quite good in this deck, and because they're all light, You usually would use goes in match. You don't have access to that, but overall the deck is quite strong, and if you can afford to make this deck, I would say this is going to be one of the stronger decks in the entire game. Alright, the final deck that I'm going to be showing you guys is Suship. Suship is awesome because it's literally been usable in the last like 4 festivals, which is kind of insane, including this one. And yeah, for some reason, like I said before, I think their algorithm just tries to hit decks like the URs that decks have, but this like main deck doesn't actually have any URs. The whole deck is SRs and commons and rares. So like the algorithm that usually would hit the decks doesn't end up hitting Suship, so they slip through the cracks every time. This is a kind of a crazy investment deck, because it seems like every festival they somehow end up being legal. This is another good one where if you play it in one festival, you can use it in both festivals. You can use it in the Legend Chronicle Festival and in the XYZ Festival. So if you choose to make it, it's great. And the only thing you're really picking up are all of these like staple URs that are like in the extra deck. So you're going to use these in other decks anyway, which is pretty cool. You can make it and it's usable in multiple different decks. But yeah, probably the best one to like fully finish, fully pick up, because it'll be usable again. Again, it just kind of depends on your build. But Suship is basically like a rank 4/rank 5 deck. You can go either way with them. Really cool deck. It's got some normal monsters. This Painful Decision is really strong in this deck. This should not be in there. Painful Decision is really strong in this deck. It should be a Nibiru in here too. But yeah, Painful Decision is very strong because you can actually get the new effect monster with it, just because it always counts as the Gungan Shari, even in the deck, which is really cool. So you can send the Shari to the graveyard and then you can add this to your hand, which is like really awesome. Yeah, you can search it with Painful Decision, which is just nuts. Infinite Permanence, obviously, and then this search card. But yeah, the extra deck is basically just all X-Seed monsters that are staples. So you just pick those up and then you can use them for whatever decks you need to in the future. But this is the last deck that I'm going to be showing you guys. Really cool festival. Let me know if you guys are playing something totally different than what I'm playing. And as always, thank you for watching. La 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 la.